All right, I'm sharing my desktop. Okay, what is that we are going to learn today? Last session, when we have seen that calculator example, right? We have seen how do we make use of superclass provided functionalities. Now we will see how we can make use of our superclass 80%, which includes properties also. And using the same superclass type, how we can define ourselves or how we initialize ourselves into the memory. Okay, we'll see all that stuff today. Let's take a small example. The last example which we were working with, we'll try to take out that same example, which is HRMS. Okay, so we have a class called employee, and he has got certain things, and he has got consent things, salary, designation, department, and other stuff. Well, please understand how many different kind of employees we can have as a part of this application. Okay, now because I wanted to show you the application style, I will introduce the what do you call this the IDE now. So we'll see how do we make use of IDE to develop applications. Okay, how do we define different packages, how do we define classes into different things, and then how do we make use of the stuff. So I am using Spring Tool Suite, which is habituated to me from the day one. Okay, you have these are all the kind of different projects that I'm currently working with. So I'll create this new batch in the D drive. I'll call this batch workspace as Feb freshers or freshers B2. That's better what to use. B1 was already there, so I'm using B2. Okay. Now, please understand, whenever you open Eclipse or Spring Tool Suites, which is an IDE, okay, you need to choose a workspace where you are going to keep your all the libraries, files, and everything. I have few more people, I think, waiting in the lobby. No, nobody. The moment when you choose a workspace, all the necessary plugins to run the show for the IDE will be placed into this particular folder. Okay, so I have chosen it, and the moment like you could actually see in the freshers B2 currently there is nothing, but the moment when I say launch, it is loading, and you could actually see this is added with the metadata and plugins, and you could eventually see these plugins are getting increased. Okay, so all of that which is needed to run the IDE smoothly, it will add on to this workspace. Okay, so this folder which you are creating is a source folder or a placeholder for many projects that you are going to work. For instance, in my system, I would be having workspaces for different, like I have a workspace for TCL Manify, I have a workspace for TCL Loan Against Securities UAT project space, and then production. Well, you can see in this space, if you could see, there are different projects actually. Okay. One workspace is capable of holding multiple projects. Am I clear? Is there anyone waiting? All right. So, well, this is called Project Explorer or Package Explorer, where you can see all your packages, projects, and everything. Okay. And then right side, this is a code window where your code will be open. Forget about Outline for time being. Below, when you create a new project, all project related problems, if at all, while the time of creation, is there any problem, that will be displayed over here. Java you can actually ignore for time being. Now, let's say I'm trying to create a Java project. Now, there are so many different kind of projects you can create. If you could go and say new other, these are all the type of projects that you can create. So I am going for a Java and Java project. In future, after a period of 1 week, we'll go ahead and create a web project. Am I clear? We can go with a Spring Boot project. So for time being, I'm creating a Java project and I'll click on next. So here I need to give the name of the project. So I am giving the name of the project Jakarta HRMS. Okay. Now this is using environment JRE, which is there available. Well, the very first thing you need to do before you create any project or anything, please understand, for this entire workspace, you need to set who is going to be the Java runtime, and also have to set like after you get your Gerrit access, you need to set your SSH also in order to take pull as well as to push. So go to Window Preferences. These two settings you should not forget. One is JRE. Click on Install JREs. This is basically taken from the built-in plugin of STS. So I'll remove it. I don't need it. Well, I'll click on Add a standard virtual machine, which is available in my Java installation directory C drive, program files, Java, JDK. This is where exactly my JDK is available. I'll select and I'll finish. So apply. The other thing which you need to add is your SSH. Currently, you could actually see this is the private key which you need to add. So basically this will be taken from your .ssh folder of your user ID. So please go ahead and then select your private key. So C drive users .ssh in my user directory. This is the key. I'll select this. So these two steps you cannot forget. Apply. Similarly, if you see in the Git repository, okay, below if you go to Maven and not in Maven, my mistake, sorry. In the version controlling Git, in the configuration section, you need to add your email ID and username. Okay, name is the name that you generally will have, first name and last name, and email is nothing but the Jakarta given email ID. These two has to be configured. So step number 1, set the GRE. Step number 2, set the SSH key. Step number 3, check the configuration that you have given. So without these two, you are not validated to commit any changes that you have done your coding when it comes to Git. Currently, you will not use any Git related stuff, so you are free. But when you actually work with your original project, right? Please do not forget to make these three changes. And then the last but not least, in the runtime, run and debug. If you could see the console, it has a limit of console to 80,000 lines of code. So here, after that, it will stop scrolling. But you want to see more error messages as long as it is running, you could actually have to remove this limit. Am I clear? These four settings you will not forget. What are the four settings? Can somebody repeat? What are the four settings?
JRE and SSH.
Then version control,
version control and Git
GIT
control.
configuration, and then last one run and debug console configuration. ठीक है ना?
Yes, sir.
So these settings are primarily important. Basically, without knowing this, I have seen in Jakarta, whoever joins as a fresher, they'll try to take full project and then they get error. They approach IT team. The approach team, I mean the IT team whom they approaches, they'll tell for the first time, okay, this is the setting, this is the setting. They will not say this is mandatory. Second time when they pull again, they'll get error. Again, they'll approach IT team, and the IT team yells at you, shouts at you, saying ki, "Arey yaar, kitne bar bolna? I already told you, right? You have to set this setting." So don't get into that situation. Okay? IT team, na, they have to support all these 600 members. They always over occupied, and then they always will be in iteration mode. So let's not again make them or get into iteration. So let's understand what all to be done from our end. And then if at all any configuration mistake is there from the Git level on our username, then the IT team will take care of. Okay, na? Remember these points, these four settings: GRE setting, then SSH setting, and then Git में version controlling system में your user and name, email setting. A fourth one is the current console setting. Do these things and then properly check. ठीक है ना? Now I'm creating a Java project. A shortcut is there to create a Java project. I'm creating it as Jokata HRMS. And I have my JRE JDK 1.8 use the default as a workspace. Okay. So it says key the compliance level is 17 is what it says. So now I'm looking at Java 1.8 only. Okay. So you could use project specific JRE JDK 1.8 or use a JDK 1.8.21. Whatever you wanted to use, you can use. Understood? Now it says key the compiler compliance is a level 17. This is recommended, and either JARE or the compiler compliance should be changed. So go to configure and then look at this. What is the setting I am supposed to use? 1.8. So I'll say apply and then apply and close. Now the JDK I'm using is also my compiler. Am I clear? Am I clear? So
Yes,
next.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, this SRC is going to be your source folder. At runtime, this will become a build folder, BUILD. But for me, a target folder. People, in some settings it will be target, in some settings it will be build. But for you people, it is LIB. And you could see all of these. You have libraries which is set as JDK 1.8, and all of these are been added for you. And then you have module dependencies if you have anything. As of now, I do not have any module dependencies. Okay, and I'll say finish. Now you could see this SRC folder is created. Right click, new package. So please remember, you are not supposed to write your Java programs without a package name. If you write a program without a package name, that is considered as a complete non-standard way of coding. So from today onwards, whatever you develop will develop with a package. Yeah, of course, please understand, when I'm teaching you the IO streams, multi-threading, or the exception handling kind of stuff, right? I'll still go back to our Notepad++ and then I develop examples in a non-standard way. That is only for the sake of explaining you the concept, to let you understand the concept. But when you develop, I am expecting you to use the packages. Okay. Well, how the package name will be organized? They either will start with com or will start with all small letters. By the way, com stands for this is a commercial project. Yani ki the one that you are developing for the selling purpose. If you say org, this is a free source code that you are giving, developing, and then giving free of cost to everyone, something like that. So all applications we develop are starting from com. This defines the kind of source you are developing is a commercial purpose one or a freeware. So I am developing a paid one, it's not a freeware. And this com always followed by the company name. Let's say my company name is Jokata, and then what is the type of library or the purpose of the library that you are developing, what is the software you are developing for? HRMS dot, and then comes the module name or a library type. I repeat this, either module or library type. Most of the times it will be followed by module then the library type. Sometimes it will be purely a library type depending on your range of the project. If it is a small project, there are no modules, then it will directly comes a library type. For example, I am trying to develop here all entities. This is one. And similarly, I'll try to create another package com.tocata.hrms. Okay, library business classes, and right click new package com.jogata.hrms.main, which contains the main method. Okay, so libraries comes here if you wanted to develop any library. Oh, somebody is admitting on behalf of me, or you people are getting automatically admitted? Anyway, no problem. So I'll just come down here. So we'll see what are all the things that we can do. Now, you actually can see here the main method contains the main. I'm creating a class hrms.java, and in the entity I'll create entity, in the library I'll create libraries. Okay, that is what I have divided this entire project into three different set of things. So here in the entity I'll try to create a new Java class called employee. Now the class employee will contain give me a second, let me increase the font for you people. Okay, ये देख के बताओ कि is it visible clearly or not when I click on apply? If not, I'll increase further more. Is it clearly visible this part? Or I'll increase further थोड़ा सा.
Yes. From him.
थोड़ा increase करो.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's okay.
It's okay na? Okay. Cool enough. So I have private static int what do you call this id is equals to 1,000, and then you have private int employee id, private string employee name, private string department, private string designation. Now here what I will do, I'll try to supply this employee a constructor, public employee, and a default constructor which will call the super, and similarly I'll supply public employee who will take string employee name and string department and a string designation and the double salary. Well, I forgot here private double salary. So what I can do is, if you could see this one, I'm writing this, I actually can generate this. So all you have to do is right click and then go for an option called source. The same thing you can get it from the menu also, menu source. Okay, so go to source and you could choose generate a constructor using fields, and then you could actually choose what are all the values that you wanted to be supplied. When you say generate, it automatically generates this thing for you, a super call followed by whatever the values that are supposed to be assigned to. And then I just would like to add this guy, this dot employee id is equals to, you know, plus plus id, whatever I have. And then the basic standard way of doing this one is also not this way. Okay, what am I supposed to do then, Ram? So please remember, this id is supposed to be assigned in a static, okay, a static block, using a static block. Well, now what else is required? So for all of these people, I am supposed to supply the setters and getters. So right click, source, generate setters and getters, and I'll say select all. And for the ID, I'm not giving an option of setting it. I can give only the getting part, and then say generate. All of this stuff is generated just like that. Now my entity is ready. Control S. This is the main use of IDs. It will help us to generate the code on the fly. Instead of we spending a lot of time to write number of lines of code, it actually generates things for us. Pretty fine. Now I have my employee class. Okay. Now, what is the intensity? In a company, if you have seen in a company, I would be having different kind of people. Let's say I will have testers, I'll have developers, and I may have admin, right? I may have an accountant, I may have a HR, I may have many number of people. All of these are again nothing but employees only. So when I admit them, let's say for example, I'm giving a job for a HR. HR is called as a HR, but HR also has to be given with the e-name, department designation, and salary, and also to be given with an ID. So do I have to repeat these properties in every class? Honestly speaking, yes. Let's say here I would like to create a new class whose name is called developer, and for the developer also I'll just have to repeat all of these, because he need to be having a name. Developers will have a name, their department, their designation, senior developer, trainee developer, all that stuff, right or not? So how do I give this instead of rewriting a whole thing? So all you have to do is you simply have to say extends employee, and that's all. By saying you are extending an employee, you need not worry, but you will become a type employee. That's all. Now employee can make use of all of that stuff that is there as a part of the pay. Sorry, the developer can make use of all that stuff which is also available in the employee. Okay. Now the point which I wanted to tell you is, let's say assume this employee who is an entity have certain behaviors defined by me. I'm just, for example, for instance, I'm trying to override, implement methods from superclass. Currently, I wanted to implement the toString method. So this toString method that I'm implementing will be returning the details of employee. You know that, right? So what are the things that I need to return? Return employee ID plus employee ID slash n employee name, e-name or employee name, I don't remember that. E-name,
Enams.
e-name, and then department, well, I'll stop it here. Let's say this is what I wanted to return. Okay. So employee ID, employee name, department designation, salary, all that stuff I wanted to return. Fair enough. Okay. And what else? Here, assuming this employee, no, I'm speaking about this one. One important aspect, you please note down. There is a situation where you define a generic object, super or a root type of other objects, in which you are defining certain elements like properties, behaviors, whatever it is, and you cannot decide on them. For example, I'm trying to define a behavior here for an employee. So the behavior is like this: public, void, role. Tell me, what is the role of an employee? Okay, I'll ask this in another way. What
Develop.
is the role of a tester? What is the role of a tester?
Is the all code.
What is the
Testing the
role of a
code and
developer?
debug the errors.
Then what is the role of a
Writing the
developer?
code.
Develop the code.
Develop
Writing
the
the
code as
code
per the client requirement.
and
What is the
programming.
role of an accountant?
Maintain the accounts.
So what is the role of an admin?
Uh,
So you are understanding the roles are changing from every designation. Agreed? Huh?
Yes.
Can you
yes, sir.
define here in a root type element saying that this is role? You cannot. So when you are defining a root type element, and while the time of defining that root type element, you are supposed to define a functionality for it, but yet not deciding how to implement. This is a situation where we leave this function or a method like this as unimplemented, but needed mandatorily for this entity. The problem is because I am unable to decide what could be the functionality, because these employees will keep on changing based on their designation. In a company, I may have somewhere around 15, 20 designation based employees, and each and everyone have their own set of role. CEO has his own role, CTO has his own role, the delivery director has his own role, technology director has his own role, right? Business director has his own role. And similarly, like, keep on going: managers, TLs, developers, trainees, testers, IT people, networking admins, and then DBS. So many people are there. Everybody has their own role. So we cannot decide them at the root level. Such a kind of methods are supposed to be defined as a public method whose implementation was not decided. So they must be they must be notated as abstract method. Now the point is, this method is an unimplemented abstract, यानी कि incomplete. So incomplete method I am defining. It says that abstract method role type of employee can only be defined by an abstract class. What do you mean by this? This means that if at least one part of your program is incomplete, then your program itself or a component itself is incomplete. Let's say you have given an order for an apartment, and while the time of joining or like you are shifting there and you see one part of the apartment is incomplete, will you accept it? No, right? It is still incomplete. Similarly, if one part of the component is incomplete, then the component itself is incomplete. So you must notate this also as an abstract class, then it is okay. So this is exactly where we go for an abstract class. Remember this point. People generally will start with what is an abstract class? A class which contains at least one abstract method is an abstract class. So we define a method as an abstract so that we can go for multiple implementations. But you need to understand what is the need, why you have to define a method for multiple implementations. The need is when you cannot decide as an owner. So here, as an owner of this program, I am unable to decide what can be a role for an employee, because these employees roles may get changed, but I wanted this functionality must be there for an employee, mandatory. So when you know that this functionality or a behavior is mandatory for a component, yet you are unable to decide its implementation, then you please declare it as abstract and then declare yourself as an abstract. इससे क्या फायदा होगा राम? The फायदा ये है कि anybody wants to use this class employee, they cannot create instance of this class. Why they cannot create? Because this is incomplete. Because this is incomplete. First step. Second, here let's say for example here I'll say main method I am trying to write, and then in the main method I am trying to say employee employee is equals to new employee, I am saying. The moment when I say employee equals new employee, even if I try to import him, I'll still get an error saying that cannot instantiate this type employee. Why? The reason is this guy is incomplete. What if you allow, assuming that if we allow this, then what happens? Somebody may call employee dot role. So when somebody calls employee dot role, is this implemented in
No, sir.
employee class? No. So what happens? It leads to null pointer exception. So because of this, please understand this is not allowed. That's a thumb rule of Java. So any class which is declared as an abstract, am I clear? Can only be extended. It cannot be instantiated. So here, abstract classes cannot be instantiated. Can only be extended. Am I clear? That's a rule. Now because it can be extended, it comes with another what do you call this, demand. Let us say my father has a property which is having a loan on it, and I wanted to own that property. Am I clear? I wanted to own that property. So if I have to own that property, tell me what am I supposed to do?
You have to clear that loan.
Correct. Or I have to take that loan on my name. Either of that way. Correct or not?
Sir.
You understand that? First thing, I should clear that loan. Point number one. Yes, I can assume. Or I should take that on my name. I should take that loan on my name. That means if I extend an abstract class, I must implement, I must be implementing the incomplete method. So here you can see this developer extends employee. So it says key the type developer must implement the inherited abstract method employee. यानी कि there is a loan on the employee name. I must clear this. So I should say add unimplemented method. अगर तुमसे नहीं होता, then you make yourself as abstract. These are the two ways to extend an abstract class. Either you implement it or you also declare yourself as abstract. Am I clear? Let's say I'm trying to implement it. Now you can say this. What is the role of a developer? So develop code. Okay. Deploy projects. This is what it is. Simply anything you can give, control s. Now how somebody can create instance of a developer, this is the point you need to understand. If you have to create instance of a developer, how you can. Now the point is this developer, I do not want anyone to create a dummy instance of mine. So what else I can do? I can force other people to create a constructor for me. So here I can say, okay, source generate constructor from fields. So he says ki you could actually get thing, um, you know, wait, where am I? Source. This one. Okay, this is what I wanted to generate. So here you can see a constructor is given to me. In internally, I am trying to call my super class. I'm trying to call my super class. Let's say, for example, I wanted to add up my own thing, okay, which is not there as a part of employee. For example, now I'm trying to create another class. Right click, new. Look at this Java class called, um, you know, uh, growth or salesman. Who is a salesman? Basically, a marketing guy, right? Right or wrong? Okay. So let's say I have a salesman for my company. So the salesman also an employee. So I'll say extends employee. And the moment when I say this guy extends employee, so you'll have to add that an implemented method. well, so SOUT, and takes care of sales and growth. Now, एक minute रुको. And then I would like to add one more method, a constructor from my parental type. Okay, super class. I have taken this one, generate. Now, if you have seen this one, okay, here I would like to add one more thing. Let's say you being a child class, the very first thing what you can do is use as is. That is getting all of those properties which belongs to employee. Plus, you can also add your own. Let us say, for example, I have a double called commission. So what is this commission? Well, please understand this belongs to salesman class only, plus he has employee class variables also. Yes or no? Well, employee class properties. Okay. Now this double commission, whatever I have, I'll make it as private double commission. Okay, and then I'll make sure that this commission is also being given to me as a part of my job. So double commission. Now this commission that I have taken, I'll say here, okay, the way I write my code is slightly differs now. So I'll say this dot commission is equals to commission. And then after that I have assigned this commission. Assignment of variable has no effect. Uh, this is mi SSI1 commission equals to commission, and then I will say okay, I wanted to set the salary as a salary plus commission. So here I'll say salary plus commission. Look at this. To the parental class, what I'm trying to submit is the salary as the salary and the commission value what I'm getting. Okay. Um, now, now after that in control S. And then this commission must be used by someone else. Well, here I'll try to say source generate get resent setters for the commission. Fair enough. Now look at this. This is how I can define my own variables also and make use of them like this. Okay, for a salesman, his salary is nothing but salary plus commission put together. It is called as salary. Well, you can do it at the time of calculation or at the time of initialization, something like that. I just wanted to show you usage of how you can make use of your parent class related properties, as well as you can also define your own. Understood? Now, so you have this and you have that role overridden control is. Now, how do these people can work like, let's say I have a developer and control S, and this is the, I mean, role he has got. Now I'll come to HR, and in the HRMS, what I can do is I actually can create instances of this employee and developer if I want. Okay. So, for which I will take the help of the HR. Right click, new class HR. No, who is a HR by the way? Please understand, HR also an employee. So extends employee. Okay. Now this HR, I mean, I can have a HR who already been loaded into the memory, and then with the help of that HR, I could actually do certain things. Okay. So in the library, I'll say new Java class called HR operations. So this will be dealt by HR, assuming that this will be dealt by a HR. So here I have a HR who extends an employee, and then he will implement the unimplemented roles. And here I'll say system.out.println HR operations and resource management. This is what he will do. Okay. Well, I can also, if you want, you can add your superclass constructor, all that stuff if you want. But for time being, I am not interested in control S. My HR will be there. Okay. Now HR operations, I am trying to give a specific operation to this HR. So public, okay, return type is employee called uh, onboard employee. So to whom I have to supply a string employee name. And then for this employee name, they have to do the onboard process. So return type is of type employee. Okay. Now, what am I supposed to do here? They have to onboard an employee, and that's what they will do. Assume. So using this HR operation. So here you already have that onboard employee. If you could see this, so this one, right? Onboard employee, which will take string employee name. Well, I'm trying to take the same thing here. Control C and Control V. With one small change, instead of new employee, here I will take care of a certain thing here. If designation dot equals ignore case of, let's say, developer is equals to new developer of so and so. Else, again, please note, if your designation is not developer, sales designation salesman assume, and then you will say employee is equals to new salesman of so and so. Else, if designation dot equals ignore case of HR, you could say employee is equals to new HR. So you could actually override that superclass constructor here also, so that it can be in sync with other models. So here I have HR. Will supply them. Okay, fair enough. Okay, you will return a new employee. That's all. And then this guy, after getting the employee from the HR operations, okay, this HRMS will call, let's say, employee is equals to. So here I will first get HR operations. HR is equals to new HR operations. And using this HR operations, I will call HR operations dot onboard employee of so and so name. Let's say Ram. Okay. And here I will say employee Ram is equals to. Similarly, I can have any number of employees. Control C, 1, 2. I'll make one as developer, one as a salesperson, one as a HR. Okay. Let's say I have a Sai and I have, let's say, Pavan. Okay. So here and there I have Pavan. Well, after these things, I'll simply say Ram system.out.println of Ram, and we'll also call Ram dot role. I have Sai. Sai dot role. And then I have Mr. Pavan. And I'm passing Pavan over here. Now, this is what you are trying to do. So you can see the main intention of this example is to let you understand how effectively abstract classes can be reused for their code and then their properties and other stuff. So you declare only once and then make use of this entire stuff. And here is one declaration role leads to many implementations. I have one developer whose role is different, and I have a salesman whose role is even different, and also have a HR whose role is also different. Yes or no? So in this way, I could actually make use of that stuff. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
तो इधर आ गया राम, Sai और Pavan. Well, let's run the show and then see how they will be printed. Now, at every level, after printing the details, here I wanted to print a small line so that we can understand the difference between different objects. Fair enough. Now you understand, right? This is how we develop projects. So we have a library separately available, and we have the entity separately available, and we have a main class separately available. So please note that you cannot write anything and everything in a single package. That is not a good practice. You have to divide them. So suppose tomorrow you wanted to add a new employee type, let's say for example a tester, you need to add it in the section of entities. And then similarly, if you wanted to add one more business class which will do some background operations for you, let's say for example salary calculator, that comes in the library. HR will make use of that salary calculator. Hope you are understanding, right? Understood. So something like
Yes.
that. Yeah, so that's what the main purpose of this one. And then HRMS, basically this is the application which actually runs. Okay, so main always will have what do you call this, the application model of things, and library will have libraries, entities will have the different actors which are there as a part of your application. Well, let's run the show. Run as Java application. Exception in main, null pointer exception. Let me see why it is coming.
Sir, it's coming because of console.readline.
There,
हाँ हाँ,
ename है.
ई नेम के पास कुछ तो आ रहा है, बट वो नहीं आना चाहिए, मैं देखता हूँ. In the read line only it is coming.
Sir, it will run on terminal, not here.
No, it basically, I have run it previously also. I never had this exception.
Actually, we have given the property name as ename, right? But you have given here emp name.
किधर पड़े भैया? This EMP name is the local variable for this, right? You understand? This is a local variable name. You can give ename, EMP name चलेगा. That doesn't matter. So it requires ename as a variable name. We are supplying EMP name. वो उसको X चाहिए, we are supplying A. That doesn't matter. उससे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम इज रीडिंग सिस्टम डॉट कंसोल डॉट रीड यहाँ पे आने के बाद ये प्रिंट हो गया. देख, एंटर डिपार्टमेंट फॉर राम यहाँ तक प्रिंट हो गया था, एंड देन इन द लाइन नंबर 15 इट इज ट्राइंग टू रीड, इट इज गेटिंग दैट एरर. देखते, शो व्यू टर्मिनल.
Sir, in IDE we can't use system.console. We can go for scanner or something like that.
देखते बड़े भाई, देखते. तो पैकेज में जाना पड़ेगा क्या? Yes, and not from the terminal. You cannot do it in this way. Console only, it is basically to run. It has run previously. I don't know. Okay, somebody suggested scanner. We'll try to see that one. Let's say.
Yes, sir, scanner will work.
Oh, what the hell? Where did I declare it unnecessarily? Huh? It's supposed to be here. Get it? Well, let's see if it runs now. Okay, it's running now. Enter department for let's say training. Designation for developer. Salary for सब लोगों को एक ही सैलरी दे दो मैं, ठीक है ना? वेलकम टू जोगटा एम्प्लॉय ऑनबोर्डिंग सिस्टम. अरे यार, व्हाट द हेल आई हैव डन. I should have changed that. Okay. And department details of Sai. Sai is, who is Sai, by the way, for us? We can give anything, right? Like we have a salesman, we have a HR, we have a developer. So in department is sales and designation is salesman. And then Sai ka salary, I'm still giving 30,000. Then entire department for Pawan, HR, and the designation. What are all the things we have in HR operations? You see, we are checking salesman, developer, and HR. So I'll try to give this as HR. And salary of the HR, I will still give 30,000. Let's enter. You could see a slight difference over here. When it comes to this guy, he has got 60,000 of salary. Why he has got 60,000?
He got commission.
So where
But
is the commission?
commission is
Have we given the commission? So you understand, this is a bug. This is a bug. So here you need to understand क्या हो गया salesman को. So he is taking salary plus commission is what he is applying to super, and then this commission is equals to commission. So here in such a kind of case, basically you are supposed to ask enter the commission also, correct or not? Well, in the HRMS operation system, which you need to understand. So if the designation is salesman, you just cannot simply supply the values, but you are supposed to take the commission also and supply him. Well, in such a kind of case, you need to say enter commission, control C and control V, enter commission for so and so, and double commission is equals to, and here by mistake, you look at this is the error. This is what we call as a logical error. It is supposed to supply 5 parameters, right? It has auto filled because you haven't supplied the commission here. It has auto filled it. Now if you remove this one, now you say new salesman, it will take commission properly. See, this is what the problem is, because previously you haven't supplied commission, right? So it has taken the immediate available variant, which is double salary, and supplied as a salary. That was the problem. That's the reason why it has taken salary 2 times and one supplying 30,000 plus 30,000 as the net salary. Am I clear? Understood?
Yes, sir.
ओके
Yes.
तो ये समझा करो कभी भी लाइक थोड़ा होशियार रहना. When you are developing, so you are supposed to decide the behavior of this application. If you are not deciding, nobody else will decide. Okay, so beware of it. Control is ये हो गया. Now here it will take whatever the commission we take, that will be taken in the next step. Okay, but intention of this example is not to teach you developing applications, but to teach you the usage of abstract classes and how they are very much useful when you are developing applications. Understood now? So when you go for abstract classes, tell me somebody, and what is the better way to use them? When do we go for abstract classes? If somebody asks you, when do we go for abstract classes? What's your answer?
if our class is partially not complete.
Loudly.
If our class is not fulfilled, then we'll be go for abstract class.
नहीं, you have to start like this. When you are defining root class, root type of class, am I clear? So remember this point. Mostly 99.9% of the cases, 99.9% of the cases, abstract classes are defined at the root level. Let me give you a small example to understand. Java always have a default typical behavior for defining its libraries. Okay, I'll explain one after another. Slowly, I'll explain. Okay. Um, if you know, the root type is always defined by an interface. So interface defines the root type. Okay, and it will contain generic behaviors that are defined by. For example, if you take IO streams, the root interface is input, and this is being implemented by a abstract class root type of object input stream, and then this input stream is extended by many people like file input stream and object input stream, blah blah blah. Similarly, if you take an interface which is root interface in IO stream called output, this output is first implemented by someone called as output stream, which contains generic behavior implemented 80%. The remaining 20%, which the Java hasn't decided, is implemented by file output stream and then object output stream and so on. Okay. Hope you're understanding. Similarly, if you take java.util, there is a root interface called collection, and this collection further is being extended by a few more root interfaces. One is list. अरे यार ये तो चला गया. Go, please. Give me a second, please. This list is implemented by the first abstract class called abstract list, and this abstract list is then extended by array list, linked list, and so on. Similarly, if you have another interface called set, and this set is first implemented by abstract set and is further extended by has set, linked has set, preset, and so on. And if you have seen, which is a root interface, map, the map is also being implemented by abstract map, which is further extended by hash map, linked hash map, remap, and so on. Well, see, if you have, let's say, for example, interface servlet, there is an interface called servlet. This servlet interface is also first implemented by an abstract class called generic servlet. And then this has been extended by all our custom servlets we develop. And similarly, further, the generic servlet is being extended as HTTP servlet, which is also an abstract class, which we extend to develop our web servlets. We either can extend generic or we can extend HTTP servlet. Both of them are abstract classes. So if you have seen this maximum behavior of Java, if you see, they always come with only this approach. They define an interface and they define an abstract class which will implement nearly 80% of the behavior, and they only supply the concrete classes as libraries, okay, which will contain remaining 100% behavior. Now what we do, we create instance of these classes and make use of them. Now, what is this approach actually helpful? Why this approach is helpful? They could tomorrow, you don't want file input stream or object input stream. You wanted your own version of input stream. Then you can extend this guy and then provide the remaining 20% of the functionality. You define your own class. Option number one. Sorry, this is option number two. What is option number one? create instance of these classes and then make use of them happily. 2, extend the abstract class and provide the 20% implementation, and you also become of type this. 3, you can implement this interface directly and provide a complete version of your own IO stream. This is also allowed. So that is what the benefit you can get when you wanted to develop libraries in future. To develop those libraries, these are the options which you will have. Am I clear? Now, if your library contains only abstract classes, what is the purpose? You are forcing everyone to extend it. Look at this. Here, Java has provided only 2 classes. They, apart from these 2 abstract classes, the Servlet API does not contain any other class. Repeat, the Servlet API does not contain any other class. So it is expected that you extend them and override the method service. That is what they expect. So what is that they want is you are forced to extend these classes and implement the method service so you can serve as a servlet. Am I clear? So whenever you wanted to define your root class, I'm specific. Root type, whenever you wanted to develop a root type element, and you can implement only 80% of it, but you cannot implement the complete thing. You declare them abstract, making sure that the extenders will be forced to implement it. Do you get that necessary of abstract classes? This is Java approach. Whatever I am trying to explain is Java's approach. Am I clear on this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
ओके
Yes.
तो समझा करो भाई. तो क्या
Yes, sir.
होता है? हाँ समझा करो. तो इसमें क्या है? Now Ram, ये इंटरफेस का फंडा क्या है फिर? You haven't implemented. Let's see that. So I'll come to my application here. Along with entity, I will define my root interface. Am I clear? So this is an interface called Jokata employee. Interface निकाल देना चाहिए मुझे. I'm sorry. Jokata employee will finish. Now this Jokata employee interface defines a method, public void role. So here I will define all those methods, mandatory methods required for Jokata employee. This is what I will do. That's what I'm trying to do. So one is role, and I'll try to give another method. Let's say public void. What is the general things what we do as a employee? This one, right? We basically do this stuff. Have you ever done this one? ये वाला. What is this basically?
ये all.
क्या करते इसमें? So fill the timesheet. Am I clear? This is basically your timesheet. So every day you are supposed to fill in your time like this. So 9 hours you have work. Today, if you are on leave, then your 9 hours should go here in leave. You are on a comp off, it should go here. It is a holiday, then it should go here. But effectively, you are expected to provide 45 working hours per week, which includes the leave, holiday, or whatever. So this is filling the timesheet. So every employee is expected to fill the timesheet. Okay. So what is the work we have? Fill time sheet. This is one work. Another is their role, job role. I could call this as job role. Okay. Control S. Now this job role and filling the time sheet, I can have we can have many more methods here who are or which are mandatory for all Jakarta employees. Now the point you need to understand is, well, the methods that you are defining here are supposed to be implemented by, or repeat, say, implemented by every Jokota employee. Well, Now what I will do, because this guy is my root interface. Okay, this guy is my root interface. This will be implemented by every employee is what I said. So here this employee implements Jakarta employee. Control S. Now look at this. The moment when I say Jakarta employee here, I have defined one abstract method over here. This is not necessary to define this as an abstract, honestly speaking, because they are already there in your interface implemented, and you haven't implemented them here as a part of your employee. So by default, you also have declared yourself as abstract, and that's it. Anybody who follows you or extends you must implement both of those methods. Now, let's say being an employee, I know how to implement this filling the job sheet because that's a fixed thing. Everybody have to fill. Well, I will say I'll try to override one of my superclass method, source implement method, which is fill the timesheet. I am not implementing job role, I am filling the timesheet. So here what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to implement 80% of my behaviors which are there defined by my root model, which is Jakarta employee. So here I'll say system.out.println have to fill 9 hours as working either in your project or in holiday or in leave section without fail every day at 6 p.m. 7 p.m. actually. Okay, that's what your work is. So here you are actually filling this one. Fair enough. Okay. Well, control S. Now you have filled it one. But still, yeah, this one is a problem. Job role is what we have defined, right? Similarly, this guy also will have, and this is also job role, and in HRMS also. Now, if you have seen it, this is an interface. This is a complete abstraction. I make clear. This is a complete abstraction, and this complete abstraction is being implemented by partial abstraction, which is by abstract class, where I have given all the stuff which is generic for an employee and have implemented whatever the possible behaviors I can. Things that I cannot implement, I left. Whatever is been left is forced by my followers, my child classes to be implemented, which is the job role. So this is how exactly you develop your application when you develop. Am I clear? So every application you develop, please remember you will have a root interface defines with all your generic functionalities, and then that will be implemented by an abstract class providing 80% of the or 70, 60, whatever is percentage of implementation, providing the generic way where this guy and his properties behaviors can be reused by all the child classes, and the child classes who are extending with bare minimum code which they have to complete whatever the necessary remaining functionalities. These are called as concrete classes. These are called as concrete classes. Now look at the way I have created instances of them. The instances of these classes are created with the help of their parental type here in the HR operation. So you can say employee is equals to, you actually can say Jakarta employee is equals to, you are still okay, because employee is implementing Jakarta employee, and indirectly you are also Jakarta employee. Am I clear? Hope you are
Yes, sir.
understanding. Okay, so the return type also should be Jakarta employee control S. So this is how exactly you could implement. That's the reason why, if you have seen this one, that's the reason why, if you see the way we write our code when we are dealing with collections, we deal like this: map of type string my map is equals to new hash map. Now look at this. The one what you are trying to create instance is for the root interface type. Now what is this one? This is an interface. And then what is the object you are creating? Concrete class. Hope you are understanding. Hope you are
Right.
understanding, right? So this is how we write.
Yes.
This is how exactly we are also supposed to develop our applications. You are not expected you are not expected to work with one class which contains everything including behaviors and then all that stuff. No, the classes, the different kind of actors are supposed to be differentiated between each other, and they all have to come from a root interface model. This fellow has to define methods, that's all. And sometimes now after Java 8.0, these interfaces can also provide their default implementation. Let's say while the time of defining interface itself, you wanted to provide this one. You are free. That's all. So by saying this, you are also providing a default version of implementation. So what is this one basically, Ram? Let's say, have you ever seen Gray to HR portal? See, this Great HR portal is a software generically developed and then being sold to many companies to provide HR related operations. Hope you are understanding. Now, if such a software you are providing, well, you wanted to provide a default implementation to all the functionalities, which the person, the client who is purchasing your software is not interested to or not bothered to go with, then Java provides you the facility that by you actually can provide a default this one. ओके राम, तो यहाँ पे ये डिफॉल्ट दे दिया, तो इसमें करने की जरूरत नहीं है क्या? नहीं है, बट यू कैन स्टिल ओवरराइड. यू हैव दैट प्रोविजन. दिस इज गिवन बाय योर पेरेंट, agreed, but the provided value you can use it here if you want, or you can override it here. Hope you are understanding. मतलब if you comment this, that is you are free, and then you are happily using the implementation provided by your default interface method. Okay. What if I override? Then whatever you provide is coming into picture. Hope you are understanding. So here I will say using, इसका नाम क्या था हमारा सॉफ्टवेयर? E-Avert. Let us say I am overriding this, assuming I am overriding this. Control S. Okay. Am I clear? Now, in the HRMS, cannot convert Jupyter employee to employee. Here you need to say now what is that I'm trying to convey here. Let us say you are printing job role, Sai job role, Pavan job role, and all, right? So along with that job role, for example, if you say Ram dot fill time sheet and Sai dot fill time sheet, well, ये मैं comment करता हूँ for a time being, just to let you people know the usage of interface method or abstract method. I'm doing this work. ठीक है, Control S. अब देखो, I'm trying to run this fella, run as Java application, and here I'm trying to take only details of RAM. Let's say, for example, department is IT, and the designation is assume say developer, and salary assume I have given 20,000. Okay, welcome to enter the क्या है यार, फिर से साई का क्यों पूछ रहा है? Oh, it is asking because I have called this one, right? Onboard employee. Shit, man. Okay. इसको stop करता हूँ and I'll try to run it one more time. Okay, so it says using e-hour tool. Why it is saying e-hour tool? Because that is there overridden in your employee class. Here it is, fill time sheet. Okay, तो मतलब अगर मैंने इसको fill नहीं किया, assuming if I haven't done this part, like मतलब I haven't overridden this one, then this using e-hour tool we have to fill नहीं आएगा. Rather, it will print you have to fill 9 hours working on a daily basis. Something like this will come. Okay, so let's run this one. Show run as Java application IT, and I have developer, and I have 20K. So you can see this one. Previously it has printed from the employee, now it has printed from the interface. So you can achieve behaviors in this way. So you can define it, you can override it, and this one is not at all implemented. This is default implemented. This one he has implemented one and then left the remaining as abstract. This time he has left everything as an abstract. So it is up to you, the way you develop your application, the way you provide the functionality, flexibility, everything is under your control. You being a developer, you decide what has to be done. So Java is giving you all the flexibilities. Hope you're understanding this one. Yes,
Yes,
no, maybe.
No.
Clear?
yes, sir.
Okay. Now, oh, great enough. Sometimes, okay, there is something called as there is 2 3 points we need to understand. The abstract class cannot be a final because it must be extended, correct? So remember this point, abstract classes cannot be final. Similarly, abstract methods cannot be private. You cannot declare abstract methods as private. Let's say instead of interface, you are trying to define a method over here in the employee class. It cannot be private. It must be public only because it has to be overridden by others. Okay, na? So remember these 2 points. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
तो तुम लोगों को समझ में आ गया ना इंटरफेस का यूसेज?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. Uh, there is something called as object casting, dynamic object casting. Okay, which you need to understand, which is very typical basically. That I'll explain using a small example, which is not of type application, which is not of type application. Okay, so I'll come down here to my coding. This one will take a new class here. Let's say I have an interface called bike. So what do you mean by bike interface? Bike का मतलब क्या होता है? Bike can have general things, right? Yes or no? Okay. Let's say I have a public wide engine model, and I have public wide wheel system, and I have public wide tires. Okay, let's go for this one. Engine model, brake system, and tires. Okay, or simply say engine, brakes, and tires. These are the three functionalities every bike can have. It will have engine, brakes, tires, and then body type, whether it is a paint, metallic, or blah 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 blah. So I'm going with a basic, very bare minimum functionality. Well, this interface bike, please try to understand. Assume most of the times, where do we go for interfaces? Interfaces, yeah, comment like number. I'm sorry. Interfaces are declared by a root type provider or decider. Okay, to be implemented by many libraries or apps. This is what it is. Now, why I'm taking this example is to let you understand. There is the sometimes Java will define only the interface set. Let us say I have an interface set model called JDBC. Well, JDBC contains only interfaces. It has a connection interface and it has statement interface. Am I clear? It has result set interface, blah blah blah. It do contain a class. By the way, there is one more class called what do you call this? Connection manager. Okay. Well, apart from that, connection manager, everything else is a interface driver. Everything else itself is an interface. Rest of all are all interfaces. Now, why they have different only interfaces? Okay, so give you an idea. 1, 2, 3. I have three major databases in the world. Assume I have MySQL, I have Oracle, and I have Microsoft SQL Server. There are so many other. Postgres is also there. HANA is also there. There are so many. I'm taking the bare minimum one, the very basic one. Okay, they have their own set of SQL also. The way you communicate with MySQL is slightly different than the way you communicate with Oracle, and it is even a slight different than the way you work with Microsoft SQL Server. So the syntax differs, the data type differs, everything differs. Now, because this is the way, they only know what is the best way to communicate with them. That's why they have provided their own interfaces to deal with. What do you mean by an interface? An application using with you interact with. Let us say, for example, it has provided MySQL command line client. Okay, this is the interface which is provided by MySQL. Similarly, this guy provided SQL plus 32-bit version, and then this guy has provided SQL Server Management Studio. So this SQL Server Management Studio provides all the necessary implementation, in order to communicate with the SQL Server. So these are the consoles using which you can write your command and then it happily communicates with that one. Fair enough. But mera to bloody Java application hai, which is completely built on Java. So this application knows only to speak Java, but it don't understand what is your native SQL language at all. So in such a kind of situation, how do my application speaks to them? So what I have done, I have delivered an interface layer called JDBC. I said key, I have a JDBC which have a root model called driver. And using this driver, I will get driver manager, not connection manager. Basically, this is a driver manager. So using a manager, I will get a connection. Now it says ki dekho bhaiya, you implement this driver in such a way that it will communicate to yourself. Similarly, you implement this driver to communicate to Oracle, and you provide this driver to communicate with SQL Server. So they come up with different kind of drivers. For instance, the driver which we are going to work in future is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. This guy is provided by MySQL. The latest version of this fellow is com.mysql.jdbc.driver. So that's the latest version, MySQL 8.0 version. Okay. Well, um, these drivers are provided by MySQL, not by Java. So sometimes we may have to define an interface. Let everybody in the industry come up with their implementation. Now, similarly, if you take MySQL, the driver name will be different. com.microsoft.sql.driver, SQL server.jdbc.driver, something like that. Similarly, Oracle also they come up with com.oracle.thin.driver, something like that. It will come. So this driver varies from one software to another software. Please remember, sometimes you may have to simply define an interface and then leave it. At runtime, you actually can get a class version given by different people. You can get it. Similarly, Java has defined a model interface called, servlet. The servlet set of packages contains only interfaces. They said that the way you communicate with, you have to decide. So a server is responsible for implementing these servlet interfaces. So there are different servers which runs Java applications. Tomcat is there, and you have what do you call this? JBoss is there, and Sun Java application server is where Oracle's JDeveloper is there, and then you have Oracle, yeah, IBM's WebSphere is there. Okay, and then you have there are so many. Honestly speaking, hell number of servers are there. Jaren is also there. Am I clear? So BEA WebLogic is there. This is provided by IBM. These are the popular servers which are there for Java. They said that, Dekho bhaiya, we don't know how your server speaks to internet. So I give you an interface layer. You only have implemented. So Tomcat has implemented, the JBus has implemented, Sanjay application has implemented. Everybody has implemented this interface layer, come up with their own set of libraries. Similarly, Java has defined an interface layer called Java X.persistence. It said that this is how you have to communicate with the databases using entity model instead of using local JDBC kind of stuff. So this has been implemented by many people in many ways. One is implemented by Hibernate, one is implemented by EJB, one is implemented by Velocity, one is implemented by Spring JPA, one is implemented by something else. So many people have implemented this persistence layer. Okay, this is again pure interface. So remember this, in Java, you will see both of the ways. You will have interfaces directly given to the outsider to be implemented, and then we take that software directly and will be using. Sometimes Java only come up with an abstract layer and a concrete layer so that you can make use of it directly. Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to show you the other way. So let's say this is an interface you have defined and then given it to the outside world, saying that anybody implements these rules will be called as a bike. Let's say this interface is taken by someone called as Bajaj. Class Bajaj implements bike. Now please understand, the Bajaj class is always an abstract one. Why it is an abstract one? Well, basically you need to understand something that Bajaj still have so many other kind of bikes, right? So similarly, there could be another abstract class called क्या है उसका नाम? Royal Enfield implements bike. So there could be many people implements like this, but they are abstract classes. Well, the way they implement will vary from one model to another model. They themselves will have many models inside. So they define the generic functionalities over here, leaving these three things which are not implemented, but provides extra things which are there specific to Bajaj. Let's say, for example, if you see Bajaj brand, okay, what is that they come with? Well, whatever they come with, basically they come with economy bikes. Basically, okay, most of these bikes which are there from Bajaj are economical bikes. So they provide digital D2H engine as an implementation. So here, every engine they have is public wide engine. Okay, they will be having as digital DTH. Let's say system dot out dot println the DTH engine. And then the remaining these two things they haven't implemented. They just left like that at the rate override. Okay, engine. I could say basic model starts with 99 cc. Now let's say this is not enough. Basically they come with all of that stuff, like, so I have a class now, class called normal class. It's not an abstract class. Let's say pulsar extends Bajaj bike. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not Bajaj, it's Bajaj bike. Then this guy will override all of these three methods. So here he will say at the rate override, and then in Pulsar also we have different models, right? Okay, but they come with different things. Like for example, if you wanted to specifically say Pulsar 150, and then he will override this engine in one way. Hope you are understanding. So this is what we call as a concrete class. Now at runtime, how these classes will be used basically will be like this. Let's say I have a class called Bajaj Showroom. Now this Bajaj Showroom, which the end user uses, you can see mini bikes. So when you go there, when you go inside, and then a salesman come and ask you, sir, what is that you are looking at? You can say, let's say for example, that's a multi showroom where you have both cars as well as bikes kind of stuff. Am I clear? So let's say if you take Mahindra provides cars as well as bikes both. So in such a kind of case, you will come up with say, okay, I am looking at a bike. You will not specifically say what is the model. You simply say I'm looking at a bike. Okay. So when you say bike, you could actually take it as a bike is equals to kind of thing. But what happens here, you need to understand, this is what which is very important. I wanted to provide here. Let's say I am trying to override these methods, okay, which is public void engine. The first method I wanted to override to show you the difference of object casting, digital D2H engine with 150 cc. Similarly, I would say at rate override oblique wide brakes. System dot out dot ln disc brakes. Rate override oblique wide tires. System dot out dot. Okay, tires I will try to provide over here. Now Bajaj have the unique set of model of tires. They are coming up with only these tubeless tires. With what is that called as spoke system or क्या बोलते रहे उससे मुझे I don't know that. Okay, let's say only tubular tires. Okay, well, this You need to understand. Assume this pulsar has provided you a trade override. It's not override, my mistake. So he has got one more thing: public void nitrox suspension. The pulsar, not 150 have it, but basically pulsar 220 have that one. Let's change this to 220. Okay, so with 220 cc, nitrox suspension is basically a mono suspension. System dot out dot println a mono suspension which uses, well, something like this. There's a bike, okay, Pulsar 220, and I have a Bajaj bike, and I have a bike. Now the difference here, which you need to understand, okay, everybody have defined certain things, and let's say at the rate he has provided public wide. Uh, One more feature I would like to add on. Okay. Um, I'm assuming Bajaj is providing free insurance assume. Okay. So here I will say this is only specific to Bajaj system.out.println providing 1 year free insurance from Bajaj Allianz. Thinking that. So this is specific to Bajaj. Please try to understand. The insurance is an extra option provided by Bajaj. If you have seen it, the way I have it, क्या नाम था उसका? Bajaj showroom. Why I am taking this example is, let's say now this Pulsar 220 is an extension of Bajaj bike, which is an implementation version of a bike. So you can do it in this way. One is step number one. You can say this guy can be available at runtime in 3 ways. Pulsar 220 Pulsar is equals to new Pulsar 220. And then what are all the functionalities you can call? Pulsar dot engine you can call. Yes, you can call very well. Pulsar dot brakes you can call. You can call very well. These are from the interface. Pulsar dot, what is the last one? Tires. Right. Now, specific to this guy is nitrox suspension, correct? So here, assume you can call Pulsar dot nitrox suspension. This is available as long as the object is in the form of Pulsar 220. Okay, second, you have Pulsar dot free Bajaj insurance. Now, this is available as long as the object is in the form of Bajaj bike or its subclasses. Hope this is clear to you people.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, तो ये जो है these three, the below 3 functionalities are available for all those object forms who either implemented bike or extended Bajaj bike. है ना? Am I clear? So in this way, if you have seen this one, Control S, I am trying to run this show. So desktop Feb220 here. I'll say command line Java C. Spelling mistake. Java again spelling mistake. Right. देखो, I am able to call the engine, brakes, tires, suspension, and insurance because here am I am sorry. Because this guy Pulsar is both in the form of the Bajaj Superior as well as this one. Now assume here instead of saying Pulsar 220, if I am saying Bajaj bike Pulsar is equal to new Pulsar, what happens here? Please understand here an auto typecasting happens. Let's see, Control S. Now I'm trying to recompile this program and I get भैया तेरे पास nitrox suspension नहीं है. It's the same code. Just because the root elemental type that I have taken as a Bajaj bike, this internally, though you are trying to derive the object of your subclass, your subclass object is automatically typecasted to super type. Am I clear? It is truncated. In other words, I could say the memory you are creating for Pulsar 220 only, but you are taking it under the name of Bajaj bike as Bajaj bike. So you will not get the facility of whatever is there here. Hope you are understanding this. You get this? Understand? Any doubts? So what
No, sir.
exactly is happening when you do like this? Basically, it is resulting in like this. It is resulting in like this. So you are typecasting. Similarly, if you say, in this case, if you say bike, Pulsar is a bike only, you can call it as a bike. New Pulsar 220. Now it is even worse. Basically, what exactly is happening here? Bike Pulsar is equal to, you are typecasting it to bike internally of new Pulsar 220. Now what is happening? Even one more functionality is getting, ये भी नहीं रहता आपके पास, फ्री बायर इंश्योरेंस भी नहीं रहता. So let's try this one. See. So remember this point. It's not so easy to typecast yourself into your super type. When you try to assign a subclass object or a subclass memory to a superclass type, you are actually taking it to a backward. Auto typecasting will takes place. Will you remember this point? Be careful. Please be careful. Okay. So if at all you are adding new functionalities to your subclass and you are expecting those functionalities can be called at runtime, do not go for these kind of definition. Am I clear? If you go for such a kind of declaration, you are actually casting your object into an older type or to be a superior type. भाई लोग आई बात समझ में?
Yes, sir.
Okay, तो याद रखो, especially the way generally Java or any thing will go with is like, they will call interface name is equals to new object. That is okay, provided if interface also contains all the functionalities. If interface doesn't contain functionalities, you are gone case. बाद में रोने का नहीं कि अरे यार ये तो मैंने डिफाइन किया था लेकिन क्लास में which is not getting reflected. It won't get reflected because you are loaded on the name of an interface, not on the name of your concrete class. So this is to be strictly understood. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Super.
Sir.
So this is all about abstract classes and interfaces, which I wanted to explain, and the way you are supposed to develop applications. The best usage you can see of interfaces as well as abstract classes. More or more we can go ahead and do. You will understand that one. Okay. So that's it for now. We'll stop it here because I'm supposed to start the new topic, which eventually take a lot of time. So post lunch, if Shweta ma'am is taking, then that's a story. She'll take that session. If Shweta ma'am is not taking, let's say she's not available, then I'll take the session from 2 o'clock onwards, 2 to 6. Today's session is going to be up to 6 o'clock. नहीं 6 मतलब 5:30 तक लेता हूँ, ठीक है ना? इतना भी नहीं खाता तुम्हारा दिमाग को. So I'm giving you a 2 hours break, 1 hour 15 minutes of break. Get yourself ready, and then see if these examples can be slightly verified. I'm going to send this, upload this to that one. Recording भी as soon the recording is ready, I'm going to upload it. पहले stop करता हूँ. Stop.